As a trial lawyer, when I do mediations and arbitrations, you sit down with the mediators, and then the mediator will break off into different groups based on who wants to talk to the mediator first, the plaintiff or the defendant. And so when I first heard of this meeting in Saudi Arabia, I thought, okay, they're going to start talking to Russia first. Perception-wise, nobody likes that, especially Zelensky. At the same time, though, there can be no deal without Zelensky, and so that's his trump card, forgive the pun.
Yeah.
And they will eventually sit down with Zelensky and then bring the parties together. At least that would be my expectation. But so it's delayed, but it's not over. As a former prosecutor from New York City, I can tell you that it's really rich that the Trump administration wants to do this dismissal of these bribery charges against the mayor. It never happens. You talk about weaponization or politicalization of DOJ, of the U.S. attorney. My goodness gracious, this would never occur. When I was a New York State prosecutor in Manhattan, I did a year at the United States Attorney for the Southern District, and it just doesn't happen. The ASUAs have independence. They're reviewed before they bring an indictment, and then withdrawing an indictment or withdrawing a case specifically, the judge has to sign off on it, but the judge has little choice other than yelling and screaming or writing a scathing order of dismissal. But this is pure weaponization and inappropriate and favoritism, given the totality of the circumstances and, more importantly, the timing. He just riffs, and these numbers have no depth or substance to them. He speaks in hyperbole, and he says, we are being transparent. I speak to the press every day. Well, there's no depth and substance to that. He gives you the results of some numbers. Well, what are the documents behind those numbers that say there are 1 million people who are 200 years old? His followers and supporters eat that up, but that's not transparency, right? That's political rhetoric. And the key to these cases where federal judges have blocked these efforts to gut an agency or to fire people or to cut the funding has gone to, one, the lack of transparency. And if Elon Musk is not a super or special employee, his people who are in looking at this sensitive data, who are they? How are they defined? Do they have clearances? And no one is being transparent about that, which is why there is irreparable harm and a likelihood of success on the merits unless the government comes clean on what they're doing. And so, like I said, this is political rhetoric on Trump's part, but his supporters eat it up. But that's still not keeping our democracy or the government and these agencies and sensitive materials safe. And that's where the federal judiciary can be most helpful. I think it's the height of pettiness. I think it actually hurts the Republican messaging because of what Associated Press does and where it feeds both conservative as well as liberal outlets all around this country. I think the president and his people are trying to make a point, trying to teach Associated Press a lesson. I think it gets resolved ultimately.